Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. Episode 13 of the Arabic with Sam podcast. Let's get into it. First thing I want to say to you guys is that I'm a massive fan of the animal kingdom. Today's episode is about animals and specifically about genders of animals. I'm a massive fan of animals. I think probably one of the things I've loved the longest in my life is animals. I think I remember when I was about 5, I've got this book called Animals and Their Babies, and I remember being about 4 or 5 and reading through it with my grandma. And I remember when I came across a hippo, I remember it just blew my mind. I thought, why does that exist in the world? It's such a funny looking thing. And ever since then, I have had a deep love for animals. And so in this episode, inshallah, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about speaking about animals. We're going to get through a good amount of different words for different kinds of animals. But I really wanted to acknowledge a few little bits of grammar to do with speaking about animals as well. Animals come in loads of conversations anyway. It's really useful no matter what your Arabic language objectives and goals are. It'll be really useful. We'll cover some stuff that'll be really useful for you guys, inshallah. And also it's just a really good lesson for kids as well. Like if you guys have kids or you put together lessons for kids, it's quite good to know some animal words. It's one of the few things that does seem to be like a good beginner lesson in all languages. There are some things like numbers and colours that are normally good lessons for children and good lessons for beginners but are not in Arabic. Colours and numbers are two of the most complicated pieces of Arabic grammar, unfortunately. But there's nothing particularly complicated about animals. So we'll begin just by telling you, actually before I tell you anything about that, you'll hear some rustling. You'll hear some rustling from some Oreos that I'm eating, and you might hear some slurping from some coffee that I'm drinking as well, but I'll give you guys a heads up on that. So anyways, now we'll get into it. So the question that I received from one of my students is this: how do we know animals' genders? How do we know the gender of what animal we're talking about? Like in English, if we say a penguin, for example, it could be a male or a female penguin. Right, so what about in Arabic? In English, we don't really question it so much because we don't really have genders in English. We don't talk about just common nouns as having genders. But in Arabic you do, so how do you tell the difference? And the thing is that most of the time it doesn't matter. Most of the time it doesn't matter in English because it doesn't really matter what gender we're talking about. But, like if we're talking about a penguin, it rarely matters whether it's a female or a male one. It rarely matters at all. So you usually don't need to investigate it more. But I think it's a fair question. I think when I started learning Arabic, I remember thinking, let's use the word as a penguin. I started with that, so let's run with that, inshallah. So a penguin, shout out to anyone called Patrick out there. A penguin is a بطريق. بطريق. Spelled with ta, ba, ta, ra, ya, and qaf. بطريق. And so I thought, well, what is a female penguin a بطريقة? بطريقة is a female penguin. We put a ta marbut on the end to make animals feminine. And no, we don't. We do not do that. Nor do we do the opposite. Sometimes you might have a word for an animal which has a ta marbut on the end. You don't remove that to make it masculine. That's not what you do. So what you normally do, and it's usually the case with birds and insects and stuff, that their gender isn't clear. What you do instead is you just say ذكر or أنثى at the beginning. So ذكر means male, أنثى means female. So a male penguin would be ذكر بطريق, ذكر بطريق, and a female penguin would be أنثى بطريق. And that's how it's done. So that's the case with like birds and insects and other kind of smaller animals as well. But so similar to in English, Arabic for larger mammals especially, has different words for the different genders. And we do this in English as well when we actually sit and think about it a little bit. For example, like we have a different word for lion and for lioness, right? Like for a lion, we say in Arabic it's esedun, but a female lion or a lioness is lebu'a, lebu'etun. Yeah, that's how we say a female lion or a lioness. And we have the same thing for a horse as well. The word hisan is just a horse, but farasun is the way that we say a female horse. Faras, or a mare. But we do that in English too, right? We have a mare and a horse. That's how we do it. So as well, another example is with camel. In English, we don't distinguish actually with the genders of camel. We would just treat it the way we treat penguin. Say male camel and female camel. But in Arabic, as camels are a bit more important, a bit more integral to their linguistic context, there are different words not only for different genders, but also different ages, different stages of pregnancy, there are tons. There is quite a famous book called Kitab al-Ibl, the book of the camel, and there's like literally hundreds of words for camel. It's quite a well-known text in Arabic, and they're also in Somali. There's Somali is similar to Arabic in that it does have loads in Arabic. So for genders in for camel in Arabic, obviously we'll just normally have a jemal. Just a jemal is the normal, probably most common term for a camel these days. But the feminine is a naqa, naqatun. Both of those are used in the Quran. Or actually, jemal. I don't actually think jemal is. I don't know an ayah anyway. It might be. Investigate that yourselves, inshallah. But I don't know any jemal in the Quran. But there is a naqa in the Quran. In the Quran, Allah uses the term ibl in the Quran, and that is used. But other terms include a ba'ir. The term ba'ir is used quite commonly in Arabic literature to mean a camel. It more means like a beast, though, like a riding beast. A ba'ir. So a ba'ir, ibl, jemal, naqa. And then another term I've heard is safinatus sahara, which literally just means the ship of the desert. I don't know if that's actually like a recognised name for a camel or just a thing that we've ended up calling it. I mean, or if there's any difference in that. But those are the only terms that I know for them in Arabic, but there are tons. I know there are absolutely loads for the different nuances of different kinds of camel. So another example that I have written down is kharoof. Oh yeah, a kharoof is a sheep, and then a kabishun. Kabish is a ram. And obviously, as I say, we have that exact difference. We have that exact difference in in English too. Cool. Okay, so we've talked about a batriq. We've talked about that you don't put a ta' marbuta on the end to make batriq something feminine. So that is the case, I said, for birds and insects, but really it can be for anything. If the language doesn't have specific different words for the masculine and for the feminine, which it obviously quite often does. The last example that I had for that is so if you have a word for an animal which on its own has a ta' marbuta on the end. So for example, the word that I thought of when I was planning this episode was ba'uda. And I thought of it because Allah uses it in the Quran. And it means a mosquito, ba'uda. Well, that's sort of what the translation always is. I mean, I spoke to many Arab friends of mine who have said that a ba'uda is more a collective term for animals that bite, that for like small flying insects that will suck blood from you. But I know it as an insect. I know it as a mosquito, ba'uda. Ba'uda. So most of the time we don't care if it's masculine or feminine, or if it's male or female. Unless I'm a biologist, it doesn't really make any difference to me if a mosquito is masculine or feminine, or if it's male or female. It doesn't really make a difference. So with ba'uda, we would just say dhakar ba'uda, or we'd say untha ba'uda. We would just say dhakar or untha at the beginning. So that is genders for animals in Arabic. Just quite a quick episode today. It's not a long one. So that's just running through how we use the different animals, some different words for different animals. There is some really interesting stuff we could go into with, like, we could do a whole episode on camels. We could probably do a whole episode on horses sometime. We'd struggle for lions, but there are a number of different words for lion in Arabic as well. As we said, asad, lebu'ah, shibl is a cub. Obviously, like all of these animals have different words for their young as well. But we do in English, we have the word cub, don't we, for a lion cub. There's also a ghadonfa. A ghadonfa is a word for a lion. I'm not sure what the nuance is for the word ghadonfa though. I'm not sure what that is, but laith. I was always under the impression that a laith was a white lion specifically, but a friend of mine recently told me that that there's actually something else to do with its age as well. But I'm not sure about that. But laith, asad, lebu'ah, shibl, and ghadonfa are all words for lion that I've seen written before, and I know they're relatively commonly used. Good. That's everything I have to say, and all of the ramblings that I have left. Cool. Let's end it, inshallah. Lastly, I'll just mention for another time that I have a free course for you guys. If you're interested in learning to read Arabic stories, specifically the stories of the prophets, and I've put together a 6-step free course for you guys to access. I'll link it up in the description for those of you guys who are watching on YouTube, and I'll link it up in the show notes, whatever, for those of you guys who are listening on Spotify, blah, blah, wherever else. So if you'd like a free course, go ahead and get stuck in. It's there for the take-in for you guys, and I hope you enjoy it. I'll catch you guys in episode 14. Hope you're looking forward to it. I'll see you then. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Only a 10-minute episode this time, YouTube guys. Let's save this as penguin. Penguin. YouTube guys, let me know what you thought of that episode. It was a little bit shorter. Let me know what you think about it being a little bit shorter. And yeah, if you have any other ideas of things you'd like me to cover in episodes of the podcast, then please do let me know. It'd be good to just hear from you guys, think about some other things to actually help you guys out with. Because I've mentioned a few times, like on my Facebook page and on other Arabic language learning Facebook groups, that like as an Arabic teacher, as a graduate in Arabic and stuff, like the things that I think are interesting to talk about aren't always the things that you guys need. And obviously that's the most important stuff, what you guys need. Like, this channel isn't really supposed to be me just rambling about the things that I think are cool about Arabic. It's really supposed to be me just serving you, and I'd like it to increase like that. So the things that you really need, or any ideas for the podcast, I'd love to hear them, inshallah. Something I do have coming up, one of my students, Chris, I told you guys ages ago he was going to be on the podcast, and he is going to be, inshallah. It'll probably be in the new year. Well, we're so close to the new year now that it almost certainly will be. But he's actually a student of mine and has been for a little while. So it'd be really nice to actually hear from him. But the delay with that was, number one, up and moving house. I'm settled now, alhamdulillah, so I'm ready to go. But Chris has been moving house as well. Kind of landed at the same time. Perfect storm, or whatever you call it. Qadar Allah. It's what Allah willed. So, but we'll book it in soon. It won't be too much longer. So that's it for this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it. See you guys in the next one. Have a good day. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.